I'm Taylor May, and this is the Align to Achieve show. I believe the elevation into the life of your dreams begins with the never-ending journey of aligning with who you truly are. This is a space to be moved by stories and insights of those already paving the way in what it means to live a truly expansive life, lead extraordinary businesses, and create a legendary impact through the allowing of our authentic power. Your journey to your next level begins right now. Hi there. Thank you for being here. Once again, episode number 2. So glad you're here. So glad we get to learn together. This episode is not like episode number 1 because this is not an interview. This is a solo episode, and to give you a little insight into our first season here, this is how it's going to go. First episode is going to be an interview. The second one is going to be a solo. But even saying this as a solo episode isn't 100% accurate because I am being interviewed by the one and only Madison Embrey, who happens to be one of my dearest, bestest friends, who in her own right is someone that you kind of need to know. She is currently a professional performer, a stunt performer, a dancer. Right now, she's the lead of the Jurassic Park World Tour. She's fought with Marvel. She has performed all over the place. She is amazing. But besides her professional career, she is someone who is just wise and someone who is an amazing communicator and is someone that I wanted to invite into this show. So if you are a human design person, like I am, if you're into human design, I know that I am a generator, a 2-4 generator. And so that means if this doesn't make sense to you, DM me, because this is one of my favorite other things to talk about. But if you are riding my wavelength here, being a generator means that we like to respond to things. So as I was creating this is why I invited Madison in, because I knew she could pull stuff out of me that would be even better than if I just stuck the mic in front of my face myself. So I am so grateful to invite her in. I'm so grateful to introduce you who are all listening to Madison Embrey. And I'm excited for you to hear our conversation, which today really circles around this idea of consuming media, really pointing out my own insecurities in the creation of this show and in the vision of what I have for this podcast and for this platform. So just kind of, let's call it Align to Achieve 101, like giving you the overview, but we have some other good stuff in here. So without further ado, let's just do it. Before we dive in, just a quick word from our partners. If you have been in conversation with me, you probably haven't gotten past 10 seconds until I've told you about Darling. Darling may be my favorite brand ever. Darling started as a magazine in 2012, and they were the first magazine to not retouch women's skin or bodies and introduce really this deeper conversation for women. And it instantly drew me in. As we now know, like that is such a standard we all care about now in the media, and they really have been the global leaders in that. And all to say, everything that they've created has been beautiful, and they've been in partnerships with Anthropology and Target and just have done amazing work. And so when I heard that they were launching a new lifestyle line with new clothing and home goods, I knew I had to be a part. And so I just got back from Los Angeles to be a part of the beautiful launch of this line. And in their spring line, there are 20 beautiful capsule pieces that I have the honor of having that I truly have been wearing every day. I literally feel like all areas of my life are needing an up level because when I put these on, I just feel like I'm up to big things. And I also feel like I am just a part of something bigger than myself, because not only are these clothes beautiful and beautifully made, they stand for something. They stand for, I am proud of who I am. I am proud to be this original version of who I am. And you just need to take a minute to look at their mission statement, because truly it's gorgeous. And their clothing and their home goods are equally as gorgeous. And so there's a link in the show notes for you to do some shopping. And I just highly encourage you to be a part, to join the bigger movement of darling through getting yourself some new spring clothes. You'll love it. I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different trainings and leadership development experiences throughout the years, and truly, nothing really comes close to my experiences I've had with To Be Magnetic, specifically in their Pathway membership. In this membership, you get an array of different workshops, from focusing on money and inner child and shadow work to your relationships. And you rewire your subconscious mind. And so it's really this combination of energetics, neuroplasticity. You'll have to go to the website and see it all for yourself. But truly, I accredit my experience with them to so much of what I'm experiencing in my life right now. And it's about manifesting the life you want. And I know that's a buzzword right now, but I see it just like this concept of aligning to achieve, of how do we really get right on our insides to create what we want on the outside. And so check it out. It is truly powerful, truly has transformed my life, and I cannot recommend them enough. And seriously, for as little as $1 a day, you truly can't miss it. And if you type Taylor at checkout, you'll get 15% off. So, hey, even better. Don't miss out on the amazing opportunity to do the work with To Be Magnetic. Lastly, I am so excited to invite you to the Yellow Conference. I am going with an amazing community of other purpose-driven entrepreneurial women and non-binary leaders in October 6th through 8th at the Madonna Inn. And when I tell you that Yellow has been truly an experience that has impacted me both personally and professionally on really deep levels, I'm telling you. Truly, I have gotten clients. I have partnered with people for different projects. This is a community of people that care and are conscious and are really up to incredible, unique things. And so if you go to this conference with me, I'll be there. You will leave with actionable strategies for creating positive change through your business if you are a business owner, but you don't even have to be. But in the instance you are, because you will also leave with meaningful relationships and connections with fellow entrepreneurial change makers, as well as a renewed sense of motivation and inspiration to pursue your vision and shape the future. The best part? I have a discount. Again, if you use Taylor at checkout with the link that is in the show notes, or if you grab the QR code on the video, you can grab your ticket and get 10% off. So do it. I'll see you there. DM me if you're planning to go. Let's do it. Thanks for listening, and thanks to our partners. Now, on to the show.
There is so much to consume out there. We are just so fortunate to live in a time when we have an abundance of information available to us. And something I think you're doing, Taylor, is that you acknowledge that there's a lot of information, but then you give us really pragmatic, tangible ways to apply that information. So with this podcast, can you share with us what it is that you hope listeners are going to receive upon listening, but more importantly, how are they going to feel and what are they going to take away from Align to Achieve?
Oh, that is such the perfect first question, because it also points to my top insecurity. Because you are so right. There is so much noise. There is so much information out there. And right, it's, for me, the obvious feedback loop is, who am I to contribute or add? Isn't there enough out there? But I also know if I followed that, I would be doing directly opposite of everything I'm also preaching and believe in. And so I think what I want people to know is that this podcast and myself, I'm not positioning myself as like I'm an expert, that I know things. I am positioning myself as someone who loves to learn and who loves to share and loves to share my experiences and loves to help people. And so just like big, fine print is like, that is my heartbeat behind this, is for this podcast to be, whether it's the conversations we're having and the conversations with the absolutely incredible guests that I've gotten to talk to already, is for this to be a dispersion of just amazing content that feels just real and isn't heady and feels like like how that's how I want people to feel, is like, oh, okay. Like there's a permission slip. There is aha moments. There's, yeah, like in your mind, it's like there's a, oh, whoa, I've not thought about that before. And there's an opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to make a mental shift. And, or, oh, wow, like that is such a resonance in what they're sharing, whether that's something I realized I knew and that's just affirming that, or this is new information to me, but man, that feels true. And so that's, yeah, that's how I want people to feel, and what my, just one of my top intentions for all of this really is.
I love that, Taylor. So, just to kind of give us a practical step we can take, I think a lot of us are very caught up in our phones and scrolling. And so, what does it look like to be mindful, or like what does it look like to consciously consume information? What are practices you have in your life to balance consumption with integration and actually practicing all this stuff you're taking in?
Yeah, I love this conversation because I don't think this is really talked about that much, because there is so
Mm-mm.
much content, and
Yes.
we are literally like wired and set up by this to consume at all times. And I think I love talking about this with one of my friends, Madeline, is we say it in our language, like, wow, I need to like stop with the input for a second. I've been in a big input mode or a big consumption mode of learning, and I love learning personally. It's like top value of mine. I believe in it
Mhm.
so much. I believe it's such a powerful tool that we always need to keep learning. But like anything, there is nuance. And I think there becomes a point in our consumption of information that, like you're pointing to, that we need to actually integrate and we need to actually practice what we are learning, because there are a lot of people out there that know a lot of things, and especially in this realm of what we're talking about.
Mhm.
But I am more impressed by people of how they're actually living and living it out. And so, and that's really being of integrity and living in that space is something I deeply personally care about. And so I think, yeah, it's really being mindful and bringing that to the forefront of your own, feeling within yourself. Like if you start to feel overwhelmed, maybe that can be a sign of that there's a lot of too much consumption going on. And then asking yourself, I've been learning a lot lately. Like, what can I do to begin to actually make this my real life instead of just being an idea in my head? So I think it's so personal, the experience of that, but that the integration of beautiful information is, that's what sets people up. And so, yeah, that's, yeah, a great thing to be aware of, that I think more of us need to pay attention to.
And Taylor, I am so lucky because I feel like I have this banging front row seat to watching you and your greatness and watching you flourish and blossom. And it's ironic because we're recording a podcast, which is just our voices and our thoughts. But I think something that's so important to share is so much of Align to Achieve and who you are as a person, Taylor, is about embodiment and is like about taking things from your brain and letting them seep and lower into your body.
Yeah.
And so, can you give us a little insight as to why that's such a foundational part of Align to Achieve? And like,
Mm,
that is like such a huge part of the equation.
it
Can we
is.
talk about that?
It's so funny you say that, because it almost like surprises me how much I talk about that. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
realize how much I think about it, but then like in moments like this when I get to talk about it, it's like, oh, Align to Achieve is an embodiment practice. At the end of the day, is like
Mm-hmm.
this taking information, putting it in your mind, letting it get into your body until that's just who you become and who you are. And it's this cycle all the time. And it's taking different areas of knowledge, whether it's your business over here, spirituality over here, body over here, like, and everything is in a different degree along like that spectrum, you know? And so I think it's, I just think it's a part of this process. And I think my own, like, just dance background and my own connection to my own body is a natural fuel for that. But I think it's just, yeah, just, I think huge, just, and also just not talked about. Like, I feel like the conversation of embodiment is saved oftentimes for only like wellness and spiritual spaces, when I think maybe embodiment within work and within business and other places has the same sort of place, because this also aligned to achieve is just about living in your own power, and to live in your own power is to embody it. So yeah, a huge part of this.
What does it look like to be, I think it makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, you have to be embodied in a dance class or yoga. Well, you can be in your head, but we know that so much of it really has to be in your body.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to be embodied at work?
Hmm.
What does it feel like actually to be embodied at work?
Yeah, there we go, right? I would say it's, again, being present to your thoughts, being present to your body instead of just being on autopilot, which I think is a mode a lot of us can be in, because it's out of a place of being in survivor mode, like out of our own past and out of our own hurts in life, that we're just like, I just need to show up and get it done today. That's it. And a lot of us operate in that mode, but embodiment looks like, I'm going to be intentional in my choices. I'm going to be present and intentional and choose how I speak before I speak, and really practice how I show up before I even show up. I'm going to take a deep breath before I do something or before I present something. I'm going to nourish my body throughout the day and stay hydrated throughout the day. I think there's so many things that feel like fluffy and soft, but the people that are living in that space doing that are like, you can't mess with them, like unstoppable.
Mm.
And it's just amazing. So I think it's a path that a lot of us haven't taken because a lot of us haven't known it was possible. But again, such a hope for this show is to show like there's a different way to achieve beautiful things. And it's just by being your most embodied, truest self.
Can you give us from you just sharing that answer? I want to ask, what does it look like to align and achieve in a quiet way? Because
Mm.
I think we're so, we just, with social media and everything, we just think achieving is like fame and followers, and it's like such external things.
Yeah.
Can you just explain how the beauty of aligning and achieving quietly and to yourself?
Yeah. I love this. Every time I write the word success, I put quotes around it to indicate it's so subjective, and success is what you want it to be. And I think that's really what you're pointing to here, and what I hope comes through in everything we're talking about, especially the word, using the word achieve in
Mm-hmm.
the title, because I think there is this collective picture in our culture of what achievement looks like. But I know we both share just the belief of achievement is just doing what has been put on your heart to do. And no matter how big it is or the degree of in society, it really actually doesn't matter. It's about living to your own potential, and that potential is going to look very individual. I remember reading, gosh, I was probably like 16. I was on the boat at the cottage up north on the lake, and I was reading like Glamour magazine. And I remember reading this one article. I'll have to find it, Alex, so I can credit her. I think she was an actress. And there's a line in there. I remember she was like, would people think I was she was really a successful acting career, like living in New York City, doing the whole thing. And her like rhetorical question was, I wondered if people would be disappointed in me if I just one day decided to move to Vermont to open a coffee shop. But she's went on to say
Mm.
both of those things are can and should be considered successful. And so yeah, you're right. Like that is such the heartbeat of this, of that success can be, if you want to live in that, how our culture of fame and lots of money and beautiful. If that's like what you feel called for your lifestyle to look and feel like, great. If it looks or feels different than that, also great. It's about creating your own story and being bold enough to live it out.
I love that very, very, very much. What does it feel like, Taylor, when you put your head on your pillow at night and you're like, damn, and I was in alignment today. Well, like I guess what did your day look like? How did it feel? What were some of the things you did?
Yeah. Well, to kind of answer your first question first, I always describe the feeling as my body is so tired, but my eyes are sparkling. I'm just like, oh,
Oh,
like that's how I feel. And so maybe other people share that or it feels different to them. But I known I've had a day in alignment when, from my experience, that's how I feel. And usually for me personally, when I feel that way, I am communicating with people. I am doing things like this. I'm helping people grow their businesses. I'm making progress in the growth of my own businesses. It's just, yeah, this progress and living in progress and living in creation mode really fire me up. Or even just days of like rest, but like true yummy grounded rest, like our days I feel like that too, where I just ate like really nourishing, beautiful foods and like got to connect with people. So that's mine. But that doesn't mean that's yours or anybody else's. So I think being aware of the feeling of alignment for yourself and then being aware of what things make you feel that way. It's like, how do you create a life that includes a lot of that? So you feel a lot
mhm.
like that.
And I love that because it's actually really informative hearing your personal examples because they have community involvement, they have service involvement, they have nourishment, they have rest. Like you didn't explain a day in which you woke up at 5 a.m., didn't think about your body until 9 p.m. and you're like, we nailed 17 business deals. You're
Yeah.
like, your beautiful aligned day included things that I don't think people would necessarily think about
Yeah.
when attempting to create achievement.
Yeah.
So I love all of your examples. I think it's really powerful for people to hear what alignment looks like and feels like for you.
Yeah. Thanks. And I feel like too, it's worth noting that like that, latter experience of, choosing not to just like power through it all, but to like live in that way, like at the end of the day will cause more external, maybe success in quotes. And maybe if we're talking in business, more money because it's being done in a sustainable way. So maybe over time, like
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there's going to be a deeper return, whether that is financially, but even return in relationships because I chose to be present in them, return in just my abundance of peace that I'm feeling. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to, again, success to really evaluate what that means. And for me, it means an expansion of my view of what abundance and what receiving looks like. And so, I mean, if you want to just like go for it and like power through and that's your alignment, great. But I think just defining that for ourselves is a huge, huge step.
And I love that too, because Taylor, you and we could go off on a whole tangent about human design, but you and I
Yes.
know that we have very different power sources. And I can totally envision you waking up at 5 a.m. and working all day till 9 p.m. And I don't think anyone would be more jazzed about it than you.
Kind
So
of
I
true.
really do think it comes down to the intentionality and like staying in your body within that. I don't think you could do it on autopilot, but I think
Yeah,
that's what this whole thing is about is like, yeah, if waking up at 5 and falling asleep at 9 and working the whole time is your jam, then like get after it.
exactly. Yeah. And if
So I
not, get after whatever that is.
then if you've learned that that is not for you, then let's find what is for you and gets you that jazzed. I love
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah. And I think speaking of even media, bringing that conversation into like the media consumption conversation, I think there are a lot of voices out there that either like land on one or the other, and they say this is the best way. And
Mm-hmm.
I say, at least in my view now, to be weary of people that are saying like this is the best way, like do it the way that works for me, and instead use that in the invitation to use that as an invitation to ask yourself what actually works for me, and am I okay with building it even if it doesn't work for this person or this voice that I'm listening to. So that's just a side note with all of this as well.
I love that. I think you're giving us tools to apply all of this information that we're receiving. I think
Yeah.
you're and giving us permission to say, "Hey, I don't think that works for me. I appreciate you sharing that, but I don't think that is going to work for me as I align and achieve."
Yeah, totally.
It's really helpful information to have. You spoke about, saying, I don't think that's for me. Can you just dive in a little bit to talking about what it feels like to have something affirmed versus what it feels like to need validation and have something validated? What's that distinction for you?
Yeah, that's so good. Validation versus affirmation. I would say that being affirmed looks like, I think on the outside, both actions look the same, as in someone, let's just say someone's giving you a compliment or praise, and you're the recipient of that. Affirmation looks like you already knowing those things about yourself, and those things that you know about yourself being a part of your identity, and the thing that someone is sharing with you is just capitalizing on that. It just serves as a reminder, serves as encouragement, while validation looks like those things within yourself either aren't solid, and so you're instead giving your power to that voice or that, whatever's being said to you, and receiving that as a way to fill your cup up as. And so I think it's a daily activity to have to like integrate those pieces of yourself and ask yourself, how am I taking that compliment? What's like my motivation in my receiving this information? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we hang on the validation end, but it's not sustainable because it becomes a crutch, and it becomes something that it's ever changing. While when it feels affirmed, like we're allowed to let it feel really good, and we're allowed to be that confident and already knowing how badass and awesome we are. Like you have permission to think that about yourself. And I don't think a lot of people let themselves feel that way for a multitude of reasons. But letting yourself feel affirmed is beautiful. And us affirming other people is beautiful. And we need to do more of that. So yeah, that I would say that's my thoughts on the difference of those.
I love that. As we wrap up this first episode, what are you just getting when you think about the future of Align to Achieve? What are you so pumped about?
Oh man, so many things, obviously. I would say, man, I picture Align to Achieve as almost like a lighthouse. like we're here, like this is a place where conversations and where events are happening, and that we're to listen to of like-hearted, like-minded people, and that you're not alone in this journey of living a conscious, quote, successful life. And so that is my excitement, is the community and the camaraderie that this has the potential to create. And so that feels like the call for me, honestly, is just to, outside of just putting out content someone listens to once, is to really create this culture of, yeah, let's just all continue to grow together beyond what maybe we could have done just on our own. And so yeah, that is what gets me most excited for sure.
I love that, Taylor.
Yeah.
Just as we wrap up, is there any just love or guidance or intentionality you want to share with our listeners before they carry on with their day?
Oh gosh, I think just a big old thank you for, with creating things is scary. Even though I'm preaching about it all day, it's like, what if no one listens? And if they don't, then I have to put in the work of practicing. It's okay. Like I was just
Oh,
like saying. And so it's just an honor, there's 1.5 million things to listen to. And so for putting in your earbuds or watching this on YouTube, it's just pretty freaking cool. And so that's so much love to give there. Thank you so much for listening, for being here. If anything that we talked about resonated with you, would you let me know? I would love to just talk with you in DMs on Instagram and just have good conversation. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you just feel like other people are coming to your mind as you're listening to these episodes to start to form this community that is going to be created here, send this episode, send the other episode, first episode on over to who you have in mind. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.